Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Buckle in for this one, it's going to be a little bit longer than the last two that I've posted. Today we're going to be talking about the history of the Black Panther Party. I labeled this Black Excellence and the government's attempts at squashing it. So, a brief introduction. I can't entirely think of the right angle at which to start digging into this part of history because it runs so deeply throughout so much that simply starting in what would be the middle doesn't seem right. Yet, because I'm lacking the grace and ability to start, I want to go about it carefully so as not to miss any details, though I know I will. And as always, I invite the more knowledgeable people to share their thoughts in passing. I think the way to get started is with a customary, or maybe as viewed by those who struggled with maintaining interest in schooling solely a perfunctory, pop quiz. Seeing as most of history is not taught in schools, and where it is taught, it isn't required, and where it is required, it's deliberately removed, downplayed, belittled, and more, it just makes the most sense in my mind to phrase it academically. As a matter of fact, somebody else on Substack, their name is Neural Foundry, they said outstanding work on laying out how the Panthers operated. The quiz format at the start is kind of genius because it shows the gaps in standard education before filling them in. That was a much better way of phrasing what I was trying to get it at by phrasing it academically. They phrased it much more gracefully, so let's get into this. Pop quiz, 30 points possible. The answers will be further in this video. This is an open note test. I would like for you to first just keep track of what you believe the answers to be, and then we will come back at the end to take the test again to see how many you got right. Question number 1. When was the Black Panther Party founded? For 2 points. A. 1987, B. 1989, C. 1960, D. 1966. Plus 3 points for each program or party details you can name during the years listed. Question 2. Who started the Black Panther Party? 4 points possible. A. Bobby Seale, B. Malcolm X, C. Stokely Carmichael, D. Huey P. Newton, E. A and D only, or F. C and D only. Plus 4 points if you can explain what each of the other non-founding persons named contributed to the Black Panther Party. Question number 3. What was the Black Panther Party, their beliefs, their goals, etc.? 5 points. And question number 4, why is the Black Panther Party important? Give me your perspective of why the things in the previous question were so beneficial. 6 points. Let's dive in. Now that you've had the adequate time to do the quiz, which is just to say as much time as you need to take it. I also don't care if you cheat by skipping ahead. The purpose of seeing how much you know or don't know is to give you a better understanding of your starting point before dedicating your time to learning. In bold or italics, there are direct answers or keywords relevant to the quiz. If you knew all the answers, easy peasy, good for you. There's still a lot to learn, so even when you're confident you know everything, you might still learn something by being here, or maybe you do know everything there is to know, and the only thing you'll learn is how much you like or dislike my way of wording things. Regardless, let's get into the information. Each party's summary. The Black Panther Party was originally founded in Oakland, California on October 15th, 1966 by two students by the names of Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton. The original purpose behind starting the party was simply to patrol black neighborhoods and protect the residents from facing acts of police brutality. It later became a Marxist group that called for the arming of all African Americans, release of all black prisoners, and compensation to African Americans for the centuries in which they were exploited. The Black Panther Party was also noted for the social programs it provided, such as free breakfast for children and medical clinics. During its peak in the late 1960s, membership exceeded 2,000 people, and the organization had chapters in several major cities. The party drew much of its inspiration from Stokely Carmichael, a black nationalist leader who coined the phrase Black Power, which became the group's rallying cry. In 1965, Carmichael founded a political party that had the Black Panther as its emblem, which the Black Panther Party later adopted. The founders also adopted Malcolm X's slogan, "Freedom by any means necessary." Duncan, 2018. The NSRP. Between 1958 and the mid-1980s, the NSRP was influential to the white supremacist movements in the United States and was essentially the direct opposition to human rights. The NSRP protested civil rights and other movements they perceived as enemies. They published and disseminated racist propaganda and intimidated religious and ethnic minorities. They also networked with the KKK, neo-Nazi Nazi groups and other anti-Semitic and racist groups. In 1987, the NSRP was deemed defunct. That was, of course, only after one of the founders was imprisoned for conspiracy to commit murder, and the other founder was outed for diverting the group's funds. National States Rights Party, Encyclopedia.com 2026. Who'd have thought that the guys behind the bigoted groups causing all sorts of distraction and inviting were grifters all along? The SNCC, or SNCC. Before either of those organizations, it was the work of Ella Baker. Her career in activism began at Shaw University in Raleigh, forgive me if I said that wrong, North Carolina. She worked for the National Association of Advancements of Color People, NAACP, in the 1940s and helped King organize the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. During the sit-ins, Baker was the SCLC's executive director. In April of 1960, 200 students attended a conference at Shaw University, and during that time, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee was created. Though many had hoped that the SNCC would function as the youth branch of the SCLC, Baker emphasized the importance of the SNCC being independent and unaffiliated with other civil rights groups. The SNCC dedicated time to organizing sit-ins, boycotts, and other nonviolent direct action protests of segregation and all racial discrimination. April 1961, SNCC joined a campaign with the Congress of Racial Equality to desegregate interstate bus transportation. The SNCC helped organize and recruit riders for the Freedom Rides, and in November, full desegregation was mandated for all interstate travel. This was SNCC's first solid national level victory. History.com editors 2009. The New Black Panther Party. In 1989, the New Black Panther Party was founded. Despite its name, it is not an official successor to the Black Panther Party. The NBPP does, however, claim to uphold the original Black Panther Party's legacy. The NBPP is a Black separatist group that believes Black Americans should have their own nation. Many in the group hold anti-Semitic views and beliefs because they see the Holocaust gathered much more sympathy than the Black Holocaust, meaning slavery and Jim Crow. In 2007, the Dr. Huey P. Newton Foundation, run by the original members of the Black Panther Party, called the NBPP a hateful and unconstructive group. Bobby Seale, one of the founders of the Panthers, called the NBPP a black racist hate group. New Black Panther Party 2024. There's a lot more under the resource, but I would rather not repeat hate speech. If you want to read more to get a better understanding of the group, you can absolutely go for it. Reminder, before closing this section and moving to the next, I will state when an author cannot be found on a resource or when the location or publisher isn't well known, or for other reasons. Bibliography sites will say to proceed with caution on referencing that source. In this case, I'm trying to be exceedingly cautious because the way to discern information is even more necessary and difficult as our current administration attempts to censor or hide history. Adams 2023, Connolly 2025, McFall 2025, and Beltman 2025. If you want any background or sources cited on the validity that holds, if you choose not to believe it, you can do your own research. Due to all of this, I can say that I'm doing my best in differentiating, and if information is inaccurate, it is not for the purposes of spreading misinformation or any other dubious cause. Simply put, I am one human capable of processing a finite amount of information and working with what basis I have already built in my mind. I am trusting these sources to be correct. A broken clock is right twice a day. If most of it ends up being wrong, there's still something to be learned here. In-depth history of the Black Panther Party. Socioeconomic injustice. Despite legislation following Brown v. Board 1954, many African Americans throughout North America faced continuous economic and social inequality. Mind you, it is still continued to this day. On average, but especially during times of crisis, unemployment in the Black community can sit between 5 to 10% and jumps to 15 to 20% during higher periods of economic hardship. Black unemployment rate 1972 to 2025, no date. Also, the average household income, Statista 2023, number of homeowners, Bureau 2023, predominantly Black towns or neighborhoods with highways through them, Hennis 2019, redlining, Hayes 2024, access to education, the Annie E. Casey Foundation 2024, and so much more have been tools used to stop Black people from building themselves up. Did you know that colleges used to be free? And in 1927, John D. Rockefeller campaigned for schools to start charging the full cost it took to educate them. I believe that tuition-free education can only be realized if college education is again reframed as a public good. Adam, 2017. That's a direct quote. This, of course, does point to a broader issue within our community, which is anti-intellectualism and the devaluation of education, but let me get back to the point I'm making. While they were enslaved, black people were not allowed to read or write and would be punished for doing so. Anti-literacy laws, Wikipedia, contributors, 2020. When they were finally able to go to school, it was segregated. This is why HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, were created to provide access to higher education in black communities under segregation. Wikipedia contributors 2019. When it was desegregated, there were other ways that the government continually kept black students from access to education and the improvement of such things. When they defied all odds and steadily worked towards independence and prosperity, the US continually saw the devaluation of the things they created. What comes to mind, especially for me being involved so deeply in fashion and art, is how when a black woman or man wears their hair in a certain way, wears a specific style of dress or jewelry, or otherwise expresses him or herself uniquely, people label it a slew of hateful and undermining things. They say that it's not professional, or even worse things. Yet when a few weeks, months, or however long later, a white woman decides to wear the same thing, it's the new trend. So ethnic. It's absurd is what it is. Every time, without fail, if a black person is successful or enjoying themselves, a white person is going to be there with something to say. Irony is not lost on me there as a predominantly white woman choosing to write about black history. The reason I still state is that I do not write history to own it. I write to understand and have more people understand. I write to build community, and I write to drive connection. I'm kind of getting off track there. Many during the time, 1954 onward, faced poverty, poor living conditions, chronic health issues, violence, unemployment, reduced public services, and little means to change these circumstances. These conditions are attributed to the urban uprisings in the 1960s, such as those in the Watts district of Los Angeles in 1965, and to the increased use of police violence. It was under this context, along with the assassination of Malcolm X in 1965, that two students from Merritt Junior College founded the Black Panther Party for self-defense. Newton and Seal later changed the name to the shortened version Black Panther Party, occasionally called the Panthers. Organizational comparison. The Black Panther Party sought to be set apart from other nationalist organizations. While they shared philosophical positions and tactical features, they diverged on many basic points. While African American cultural nationalists regarded all white people as oppressors, the Black Panther Party distinguished between racist and non-racist whites and would ally themselves with the progressive members of the latter. Furthermore, where cultural nationalists viewed all black Americans as oppressed, the Black Panther Party believed that the African American capitalists and elites could and often did exploit and oppress the working class. Considerably the most important distinction, cultural nationalists believed in symbolic systems such as language and imagery in emphasis to liberate themselves. The Black Panther Party believed these systems to be important, but significantly lacking to make better the material conditions such as unemployment created by capitalism, the program's growth, and alleged communism. The party outlined a 10-point program to initiate survival projects and to forge alliances with progressive white radicals and other organizations of people of color. The principal stance of the Black Panther Party was that economic exploitation is the root of all oppression. Abolition of capitalism is a precondition of social justice. With this socialist outlook in the 1960s, aside from a Marxist political philosophy, other social movements resonated deeply with their cause. This led to many allies both within and outside of North America, which set the organization in the direct viewpoint of the FBI and COINTELPRO. J. Edgar Hoover even considered the Black Panther Party to be the biggest national security threat at the time. During May 1967, they were in the national spotlight. Led by Seal, a small group of members marched into the California State Legislature office in Sacramento. They had learned that they had the constitutional right to bear arms and viewed the gun control bill as a political maneuver to stop the organization from combating police brutality. Duncan, 2018. From my understanding, gun reform equals keeping crazy people from having readily available access to weapons. Gun control equals stopping all folks from having the right to protect themselves. Britannica, 2025. I could be wrong, and if so, I will be confidently wrong for the direct case to be made of someone correcting me. I think people should be armed, but I also think that not every person should be armed. This, along with Newton's arrest, caused publicity for the party to skyrocket, which led to international growth and chapters in 48 states. Support groups in England, France, Germany, Sweden, China, Japan, Mozambique, South Africa, Uruguay, Zimbabwe, and more. Not only did the Black Panther Party challenge police brutality, they launched more than 35 survival programs and provided services to the communities such such as education, tuberculosis testing, legal aid, transportation assistance, ambulance services, and the manufacturing and distribution of shoes. They also had the free breakfast for children program beginning in 1969 that spread to every major American city with a chapter. The federal government also had a similar program beginning in 1966, but many believe that the Black Panthers initiative led to the extending and permanence of the program in 1975 because Hoover did not want that. Despite the social services that Black Panther Party provided, the FBI declared them a communist organization and an enemy of the U.S. government. Hoover said that 1969 would be the last year of the party's existence and devoted significant resources towards it. COINTELPRO used agent provocateur, sabotage, misinformation, and lethal force to completely ruin the organization. The FBI campaign led up to December 1969 with a 5-hour shootout at the Southern California headquarters, during which Chicago Black Panther leader Fred Hampton was killed. Duncan 2018. Quick reference, Fred Hampton founded the Rainbow Coalition, which is a multicultural alliance uniting various groups to combat racism and classism, initiated community programs including the free breakfast program for children, played a crucial role in mediating gang conflicts in Chicago, and completely dedicated his life to the betterment of the community through activism. Stanford University 2020. Years later, the FBI director apologized for wrongful use of power, as if that changed the lives that were lost. Angela Davis. In the early 1970s, scholar and activist Angela Davis was widely associated with the Black Panther Party. Though it is likely she was never a standing member, she did, however, have strong connections with the party and taught political education classes for it. During a murder case, at least one of the guns was registered to Davis, and she fled charges of conspiracy, kidnapping, and murder. She was on the FBI's 10 most wanted list before she was caught and acquitted of all charges. Duncan 2018. Davis has written several books. The most highly suggested ones I have seen are Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Ferguson, Palestine, and the Foundations of a Movement, Women, Race, and Class, and her autobiography. The first two are currently on my to-be-read list, and the last one I hope to add if I get through enough books this year, which is very unlikely because my TBR is a million miles long. What was left behind? From the mid-1970s through the 1980s, the Black Panther Party's activities essentially fizzled out. COINTELPRO contributed to the party's downfall, but the loss of leadership also played a large role. Kathleen Cleaver got a law degree and became a professor. After returning from Cuba, Newton died in a drug dispute in August 1989 in West Oakland, close to where he and Steele started the first Black Panther Party chapter. Eldridge Cleaver designed clothes in the 70s and 80s before joining the Anti-Communist Unification Church and became a registered Republican. The Dalits in India replicated the model of the Black Panthers. The representatives of the Vietnamese National Liberation Front, who called themselves the Yellow Panthers, also used the Black Panthers model. The Vanguard Party in the Bahamas closely studied the organization, used its political philosophy, adopted the uniforms and 10-point program, and published the newspaper Vanguard, which mirrored the Black Panther Party newspaper, to shape their program. Duncan 2018. The legacy of social justice isn't one that can be written over or hidden, and people will find things that align with them because they sit in the back of their mind. Now that we've finished the entire history of the Black Panther Party, let's go back over that quiz. I'll give you a fair warning. If you want to go back to the beginning, this would be the time to do so. In the following repeat of the quiz, the answers will be listed, and I want to give you a chance to see how much you've learned, like I said before. Last warning. Pop quiz answers total out of 30. Question number 1. When was the Black Panther Party founded? 2 points. 1987 was the NSRP, plus 3 points. 1989 was the New Black Panther Party, plus 3 points. 1960 was the SNCC, plus 3 points. 1966 was when the party was founded, plus 2 points. If you got total, that would be 11 points if you had all of those down. Question number 2. Who started the Black Panther Party? 4 points. Bobby Seale was one founder. If you only chose him, you get partial credit plus 2 points. Malcolm X, you get credit for use of the slogan freedom by any means necessary, 2 points. Stokely Carmichael, extra credit for a major source of inspiration, originated the Roots rallying cry, Black Power, and his political party originally used the Black Panther emblem, which the Black Panther Party later adopted, plus 2 points. Huey P. Newton was one founder, partial credit, plus 2 points. And the correct answer is E, A, and D only, which would be plus 4 points. So total, you are able to get 8 points. Question number 3, what was the Black Panther Party, their beliefs, their goals, etc.? 5 points. The keywords in this response were patrol and protecting residents, police brutality, Marxist right to bear arms, arming, release black prisoners, compensation for exploitation, social programs, free breakfasts, clinics aligned with radical non-racist whites, capitalists and elites exploit the working class, liberation for economic exploitation through the abolition of capitalism, etc. Showing comprehension is the key here. How you choose to phrase it matters only slightly. Having all these words is not what equals full points. Showing understanding of what the party did matters more. Question number 4. Why is the Black Panther Party important? Give me your perspective of why the things in the previous question were so beneficial. They played a key role in helping communities, social justice, civil rights, education, economics, and so much more. Again, comprehension is key here, but what I really want to see is what you personally believe made the movement so valuable. With the previous question, I wanted to see more of a comprehensive list of what they did, but here I want to see why those things you listed were important in your words. How did you do? Closing remarks. I want to finish this off by saying a few things. The first is that my understanding of this doesn't even come from textbooks, it comes from the digital age, and that's embarrassing to me. The fact that I hardly know the right books to pick up to learn about this nation's history, and I must question every time whether it's painted correctly, irritates me to no bounds. But that cannot hardly compare to the experience in real time of seeing your grandparents, great grandparents, or farther back, whichever ancestor's story erased. The fact that education is so undervalued and consistently lacks proper information because of that is sickening. I hope that it gets better by reminding you guys that it isn't just other people's stories that get lost over time, it's everyone's. If we don't value it when it affects us, there will be no one to care about it when it does. Next, this doesn't begin to scratch the surface of what the civil rights movement was or is. The history of the Black Panther Party is hugely important, but it's also one piece of the much larger puzzle that is fighting for sovereignty. If you want to understand more, I have done my best to compile a list of books that I was suggested that are important to the history of those who have fought for freedom, whether that be the perspectives of those who have or the deconstruction behind those who haven't. They are both on the list. It isn't a comprehensive list, there are always going to be more perspectives. However, it might be a good starting place. It's quite a long list. Keep in mind as well that a lot of time intersectionality is playing a role here, and I'm going to label the sections as best as I can, but a lot of times these stories fall under more than one oppressed or marginalized group. So if you need to look at the spelling of any of these, you can absolutely go there. You'll be able to look in the resource reference, all the references will be there, but then if you go through the reading, all these suggested books are right above the references. So, suggested readings for Black History and Voices, The Badass Librarians of Timbuktu and Their Race to Save the World's Most Precious Manuscripts, Beloved, Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Uncle Tom's Cabin, The Stoneface, Black Power, Asada by Asada Shakur, Sister Outsider, Women, Race, and Class, $40 Million Slaves, Abolition for the People, For History Has Always Been Contraband, Malcolm X on Afro-American History, Caste, The Origins of Our Discontents, Medical Apartheid, Killing the Black Body, Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, Medical Bondage, The Spirit of Justice, The Color of Compromise, and The Color of Law. Sorry I speed ran those, but I'm trying to get through and the list is, we're not even halfway done. Asian Pacific Islander, Indigenous, Immigrant, or Other POC Voices, Heartbeat of Wounded Knee, The Overstory, No Longer Human, The Setting Sun, Interior Chinatown Pachinko, Frankenstein in Baghdad, and The Jungle. Women's experiences, They Won't Take Me Alive, The New Age of Sexism, Men Without Women, Invisible Women, Loud, by Drew Afwalo, Men Who Hate Women, I Am Malala, Frankenstein, We Should All Be Feminists, God Was a Woman, The Yellow Wallpaper, and The Crucible. The problem with fascism, capitalism, colonialism, communism is, if I die in a combat zone, box me up and ship me home, the Jakarta Method, 100 Years War on Palestine, Hitler's First 100 Days, How Fascism Works, Poverty by America, The Longest Con, Atlas Shrugged, Wicked, Let This Radicalize You, and A Brave New World, Religious Experience, Separation of Church and Hate, The Varieties of Religious Experience, Money Lies in God, The Bible Says So, and Educated, and Otherwise Unable to Label, Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and Requiem for a Dream. With that being said, thank you so much for dedicating your time to learning. Thank you for being here, for being alive. You provide something unique to the world, and it is better with you in it. If you would like to see more of my work, I would be absolutely thrilled. I have a Patreon where essentially everything is free, though there are goods and services I provide on occasion. I think education should be free, so my essays are always uploaded there first for free, then formatted on Substack for a cleaner look, also for free. In the future, I may provide more personal essays at a low cost, but typically I'm in it for the love of learning. So, other than that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I Hope to see you next week right on time. Thank you so much for watching. I think that's all I have left to say. And bye.